Here to respond to that criticism and talk more about the convention is the Conservatives' Deputy Leader, Melissa Lantsman. Hi, Ms. Lantsman. Great to have you here. I appreciate you making the time. One of the things Minister Guilbeault said today was that he wasn't, and other Liberals were not granted observer status, which is usually something that does happen at various party conventions. Is that accurate?
Look, anybody from the public can come and they can pay the fee and become an observer status. It's open to everyone. My understanding is that we didn't go to their convention, so I'm not sure that they wanted to come to ours.
So there wasn't any. Just to be clear, the party did not say Liberals cannot come as observers.
Anybody can get observer status. You've just got to pay the entire fee.
So the point that Minister Guilbeault was making, and one that ministers who spoke about wildfires yesterday made as well, was that your party can't be viewed as sort of trustworthy on the issue of climate because you have yet to produce any specifics around a plan. Is that not a fair criticism?
Look, we're here at the convention discussing a number of policy resolutions. Look, I was chairing a discussion today on the economy and the environment, and those are the discussions we're having right now. Those are the policies that we're putting together right now. And in due course, we will have a climate plan with emissions targets. But this is not about us. We are the opposition. We are holding the government to account. Mr. Guilbeault does not have an environment plan, and to suggest that he does, I think, is being disingenuous. And if he wants to come to the convention and suggest that he has an environment plan, well, we welcome him to do that.
Let me challenge you for just a second, because I think the plan that the government has put forward can be criticized, as your party has done, but they have put forward a plan. They have a number of things.
It's a tax plan, right?
Well, we've got
a carbon tax, and so what we're talking about today is certainly getting rid of their carbon tax, which has made everything more expensive, including carbon tax 2.0, which is going to raise the price of gas in this province by 17 cents a litre, and it hasn't hit a single environmental target that they set.
But the targets that they've set are 2030 and 2050. So I'm not sure how you're
and so
able to ascertain
there's
that
progress.
The carbon tax isn't
so
working.
Progress on their environmental plan hasn't come to fruition. I think they have some explaining to do in terms of making sure that they hit any single target. They've put targets, they put reasonable targets, or at least what they say would be reasonable targets in place every single year, and they've missed every one of those targets. And on top of that, they've actually said that Canadians get back more than they pay. That's also not true.
Well, 80% of Canadians, according to the analysis that's done, do get back more in the rebates than they actually pay.
4 provinces. It's on page 13 of the parliamentary budget.
Because those are the only 4 provinces that have the federally imposed carbon tax at that point when the analysis was done.
Well, look, at the end of the day, Canadians are not getting back more than they pay. They're not hitting their targets. The carbon tax, again, is not a climate plan, and it's not a carbon plan that Conservatives are going to back.
Okay, I understand the point you're making that your party is not in favor of the carbon tax, but just to unpack a little bit of what you're saying there, because there's a lot of stuff I think that is resonating with Canadians, but it's not all accurate. The carbon tax is not the only part of their climate plan.
And look, we've got a different approach on climate change.
But
and you've heard this before. We're going to invest in technology and not taxes. And we're not going to make
a slogan, not a plan.
We're not going to make traditional energy more expensive. We're going to try to reduce the cost of greener energy. We're going to try to get some of the bureaucracy out of the way to approve some of these projects. It's Mr. Trudeau, it's Prime Minister Trudeau's own bureaucracy that stopped the tidal energy project in Nova Scotia from going forward. This is a private sector proponent that was ready to go and walked away because they couldn't get through the Canadian bureaucracy, a bureaucracy that Prime Minister Trudeau put in place.
So let me ask you a little bit more about that. When you say lower the cost of technologies that would help, do you mean
lower the price of greener, cleaner energy?
So do you mean, for example, more ways to get LNG out? Do you mean more carbon capture?
I think it's all of those things. It's more carbon capture. It's nuclear needs to be part of that conversation. It's tidal energy in the east. It's hydroelectric in the province that we're in right now. It is cheaper, greener energy that Canadians can actually attain, rather than making traditional energy unaffordable. We're getting to the point where Canadians from coast to coast to coast, from all walks of life, are talking about one thing and almost one thing only, and that's the cost of living crisis that the Prime Minister has imposed on them.
So when will we know exactly the specifics?
Well, we're having the policy convention right now.
My question, I guess, I'm not trying to be glib. is it going to be, let's say the election is in 2 years, are you going to wait to unveil a climate change plan until then?
You'll have to wait and see for the platform, but we will in due course have one with targets.
So let me ask you a little bit about some of the other policies that are up for debate, and specifically around trans rights. There are two specific policies that will be debated and voted on tomorrow. One is about preventing people or kids under 18 from getting gender-affirming medical procedures, and the other, keep people who are born male out of female sports and change rooms of that nature. If those are voted in favor of, if those policies pass, will your party adopt them?
Look, we're not going to presuppose the discussions that are happening by members. We're a grassroots party where the membership discusses these policy issues, and we're going to wait till those discussions are had. Some of them happen today, some of them will be voted on tomorrow. What I will say is the Conservative Party believes in the dignity of every single Canadian, no matter where you came from, what language you speak, what color you are, whether you pray on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, or not at all. And I think our membership, and we will trust our membership to have compassionate conversations about all of these issues.
I certainly take that point, but why are those rights up for debate?
Well, look, again, we're a grassroots party, and members put forward many, many resolutions. And this isn't your first convention. It is not mine. It is the first for many others. And we've seen lots of resolutions debated. But our focus remains the cost of living for Canadians, bringing home homes that people can afford, axing the carbon tax, and and restoring the promise of Canada. That's what the majority of the resolutions are. That's the majority of what we are talking about here. And I think that's what you'll hear in maybe a short hour from right now, whenever that is.
I take your word that that's what the message that you have and that the leader has. But I also remember back in 2019 when you wrote an op-ed about the debate that was happening around LGBTQ rights at the time under an Andrew Scheer-led Conservative Party. I look back at it. You said for the Conservative movement to grow, unequivocal support for LGBTQ people cannot be up for debate. It is up for debate here tomorrow.
Look, this is a debate that our members are having, and again, we trust the members to have these nuanced conversations with compassion and respect, again, the dignity of every single Canadian. I think you've heard that from the leader. I think you've heard that from our leadership team, and I think that you'll hear that from party members.
But he won't take a position on it.
Well, we haven't discussed it yet, and I mean, it's up to the membership
to
vote about it.
But
we're a grassroots party. I know that's not the case in every other political party, but we're a grassroots party where the membership bring up these issues, and the membership will discuss it.
But your point in that op-ed was the very fact that they are being brought up is detrimental to the idea of the Conservative Party being for all Canadians and being able to grow. And that's what's happening again.
There's actually nothing to suggest, nothing that the leader has ever said that makes me question anything on the dignity of every single Canadian to have the rights and the freedoms. Well, that's because the members haven't taken a position. It hasn't been voted on that.
So he can't say where he stands on something like whether or not kids should have gender-affirming.
I don't think it's up to the leader. It's up to the leader to bring forward a plan, but it's not up to the leader to get involved in the policy discussions of our membership.
Okay, Ms. Lantsman, I'm out of time. I appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much. Melissa Lantsman.